How did you trick your entire high school? Nobody at Riverside High knew I could speak Spanish. As the only Asian kid in rural Oregon, everyone assumed I barely spoke English, let alone a third language. I'd lived in Mexico City until I was 10. My dad was an engineer there, but when we moved to Oregon, I kept that detail to myself. For 4 years, I sat through Spanish class pretending to struggle with basic conjugations. Mrs. De Patterson would praise me for finally grasping como estas while I was reading Gabriel Garcia Marquez novels at home. But the real opportunity came senior year when our principal announced the Cultural Diversity Initiative. The school would host an exchange program with a Mexican high school. 20 students would visit for 2 weeks. The principal needed volunteer translators and cultural ambassadors. Every kid who'd taken Spanish too signed up, seeing it as easy extra credit and a chance to skip regular classes. I had a different plan. 2 weeks before the exchange students arrived, I started a rumor. I told my friend Jeremy, who couldn't keep a secret if you paid him, that I'd heard the Mexican students were actually coming to evaluate our school, that they were part of some documentary about American education, and cameras would be everywhere. Within 3 days, everyone knew about the documentary. Teachers started dressing better. The cafeteria mysteriously began serving actual vegetables. The janitor finally fixed the broken water fountains. Even our perpetually drunk gym teacher started showing up sober. But I wasn't done. I printed fake memos on school letterhead and left them in the teacher's lounge. Guidelines for international documentation period. Basic stuff about maintaining professional standards and accurate curriculum representation. Nothing illegal, just vague enough to seem official. When the Mexican students arrived, our school had transformed. The bullies were helping freshmen with their books. The stoners were volunteering to give campus tours. Teachers who hadn't updated their lesson plans since 1995 suddenly had PowerPoints. I befriended the Mexican students immediately, speaking perfect Spanish when nobody else was around. They thought it was hilarious that everyone was performing for non-existent cameras. Carlos, their group leader, wanted to tell everyone the truth. I convinced him to wait. Let's see how far this goes, I said in Spanish. It went far. The administration ordered fresh paint for the hallways. The football team started a recycling program. The cheerleaders organized a multicultural food fair. Our racist history teacher, Mr. Garrison, actually taught accurate information about the Mexican-American War for the first time in his career. The Mexican students played along beautifully. They took notes during classes, photographed everything, and conducted interviews that were really just normal conversations. Whenever someone asked about the documentary, they'd say no comment in perfect English, which everyone interpreted as confirmation. The transformation peaked during the farewell assembly. Principal Roberts, who usually read announcements in monotone, gave an impassioned speech about international friendship and cultural understanding. The drama club performed a bilingual play they'd rehearsed for 2 weeks straight. The choir sang the Mexican national anthem, poorly, but with enthusiasm. Then Carlos stood to speak. I'd given him a speech in English, full of vague statements about observing authentic American education and valuable insights for our report. The entire auditorium hung on every word. The Mexican students left on a Friday. By Monday, people started asking when the documentary would air. I convinced Jeremy that these things took years of editing. He spread that around too. Eventually, people stopped asking, but something interesting happened. The changes stuck. The advanced Spanish class enrollment tripled. The multicultural food fair became annual. Mr. Garrison retired early, replaced by a teacher who actually knew history. The school's test scores improved so much we got a state recognition award. At graduation, I gave the valedictorian speech. Near the end, I switched to perfect Spanish. Para mis amigos de México que nunca hicieron un documental, gracias por ayudarme a mejorar nuestra escuela. To my Mexican friends who never made a documentary, thank you for helping me improve our school. Mrs. Patterson's jaw dropped. In the audience, I saw Carlos and a few exchange students who traveled back for our graduation. They were laughing and applauding. After the ceremony, Principal Roberts cornered me. There was never a documentary, was there? Does it matter? I asked. Look what we became when we thought someone was watching. He stared at me for a long moment, then shook his head and walked away. Later, I heard him telling the school board we should make the exchange program permanent. My little sister goes to Riverside now. She says they still talk about the year of the documentary, though the details have gotten fuzzy. Some say it was for National Geographic. Others insist it was PBS. The one thing everyone agrees on is that it changed the school forever. Last month, Carlos messaged me. His school wants to document their visit to Riverside next year. For real this time.